investigation. And we begin tonight with that topic. Andy Arena is with us now, the former special agent in charge of the Detroit FBI.
Yeah, Andy, thanks so much for joining us. What do you make of these 3 arrests, and how much information do you think that we can get from these guys that could help us?
Well, I think that the key point is this is all after the fact. Basically, these guys were destroying evidence and lying to the FBI, so make it clear that they probably had nothing to do with the pre-planning or the actual event. What I'm looking at is a timeline here. If you remember last week, the FBI was looking at a garbage dump and searching a garbage dump. These 2 guys were picked up on immigration charges. So they've been looking at these guys for a week or so. They probably wanted to get them off the street, so they grabbed them on the immigration charges. And that allowed them time to kind of piece this all together and make sure these guys were not involved in the actual event itself.
So you think they do not think that they were involved in any sort of the planning?
I think it's pretty clear that this was kind of after the fact, that hey, look, you know, we're going to go in there, we're going to dispose of the evidence, we're going to help our buddy out.
Wow.
A big step forward today, Andy, but let's talk about what could be a step backwards or maybe just a frustration level with FBI agents. You have had experience in dealing with the Russians. I spoke with Congressman Mike Rogers from Michigan just last week. He said that the Russians aren't cooperating. Right. How important is it that they cooperate to get this to the point where we can take this to court?
I think it's very important. The Russians have a lot of insight. You know, there's 2 sides of this coin. You know, the Russians have been telling us for years that these guys were terrorists, the Chechen separatists, and a lot of policymakers in this country ignored that. Said, no, these guys are freedom fighters. But this also highlights the problem with the Russians. They're not always forthcoming. You know, they're constantly giving us information on people. Some of them turn out to be Russian dissidents or anti-government folks. But I think this highlights the problem with the Russians. They never give you quite enough texture to the claims that they're making.
I also want to talk about last week when they had arrested Joe Karcernayev, and he was in his hospital room, and they ended up reading him his Miranda rights really when there was still time left, when the FBI was talking to him. We haven't talked to you about that since then. What are your thoughts on that? Was there information that we did not garner from him because those rights were read when we still had a window we could have been discussing things with him, or asking anyways?
Joanne, it's an issue that's really near and dear to my heart. Going back to Christmas Day 2009, you know, the underwear bomber here, we made a decision not to Mirandize him and got some pretty good information, and then were ordered later in the day by Washington to go in and Mirandize him. So to me, it's always been kind of an issue of, really, what are you trying to do with this guy? Is this an intelligence gathering operation, or are you trying to get evidence for court? If you're not trying to get evidence to try the guy, and in the underwear bomber case, we were not. We had enough evidence to try the guy. I've always said one of my 7-year-old daughter could have tried that case. But, the point was, what was the threat to the United States? I think that's the same thing with this issue.
Did the magistrate make a mistake then in Mirandizing Joe Carr then?
Well, I think when you take him before a magistrate, the magistrate is bound by law to do that. So they kind of took it out of the FBI's hands. Now, I don't know why that decision was made to bring him before the magistrate at that point, but that's the problem. When you bring him before the judge, they're going to Mirandize him.
Man, it was a controversial decision. I know that. A lot of talk about it. Andy Arena, thank you very much.